All right, folks, welcome back to PrepperNow. Today, I want to talk about something that I covered on the crisis report and something that we covered last night on the Cities Will Fall video. They're putting up fences, like anti-riot fences around the Treasury and around the White House, and people really don't know why. Welcome to PrepperNow.
Please, Lord, help me get one more.
All right, friends, thanks so much for being here. Hit the buttons and stuff. Thanks to everybody that came by and said congratulations on 50,000 subscribers. Really appreciate it. This thing is interesting. I go through and I do the tabulation for the crisis report, and I see stuff. And every once in a while, something will just pop out. You're like, what the heck is that? What's going on? I'll find a theme. The one last night is like, are we going to hit Iran again? There's a lot of stuff that was coming out about us hitting Iran. And this actually has a little bit to do with it. So what's going on is they're putting up anti-riot fencing around the Treasury and the White House. And they've done this before, but it's usually centered around some kind of an event. Now, of course, they're saying the reason why this is happening is because, well, there is the 4th of July weekend coming up. And they need to get everything ready for that and blah, blah, blah. Well, if you've been following the anti-ICE riots out in Los Angeles and other cities, and you've been following the No Kings movement and stuff like that, there's been a lot of just organization by our leftist groups. Some of them are based around anti-war stuff and what's going on with Iran and Palestine. Others are based around just, kind of unhappiness with what the Trump administration is doing. Now, of course, the Trump administration had a lot of wins yesterday. They won in the, what your kids see at school case, and parents being able to have a little bit more control over that. They won on the lower court judges doing these sweeping injunctions. They won a lot of stuff. There was a lot of Supreme Court action. So there is a theme that maybe that's part of it, and people are really wondering and worried if the far left groups are going to start to organize around that. But the thing that is interesting about this is that it's centered around the Treasury. I think that's the big question. It's one thing to have it around the White House. It's another thing to have it around Capitol and Congress and all that and other buildings, the Lincoln Memorial, stuff like that. The Treasury is a very unique choice. And so that's why I'm kind of questioning. So we've seen a lot of things go on. Everybody, of course, is heralding how awesome, everything is because the S&P broke a new record. Meanwhile, as we covered last night on, the Cities Will Fall video, everybody living in these urban centers is paying more than they ever have for everything, whether that's food, it's inflation, it's rent, it's driving, gasoline, everything is up. Everything is up to a point where people are really having problems and they're not able to just make ends meet. So, it's happened before, and I've thought in the back of my mind, I don't know if this is true. This is just a scenario that it could be, and it's probably wrong. Every once in a while, they do revaluations of things like gold, things like, your money denominations. There's been talk in the background that the United States will be downgraded to a BBB status, which is just above investment grade, and could make, interest rates and things like that go through the roof, get to 6-10%, depending, mortgage rates be 10%, treasury yields be 6%. There's been a lot of problems with that. The fact that they have chosen the Treasury is an interesting thing. So I don't know what's going on with it, but it's got the back, hairs on my neck raising up. A lot of these groups are funded by dark, nefarious money. We covered the Open Society people. One of the groups that is really in focus on this thing, because now they're starting to go into it, and they're really starting to take a look at some of these leftist organizations. By the way, there's a Washington Post reporter that's in a lot of trouble because of some of the BS he had on his laptop. Go look that one up. And I won't even elaborate here. It's disgusting. There's a lot of groups in the background that are doing things to fund anti-American activities and stuff like that. There is a guy by the name of Singham. He is a American who now resides in Germany, and he supposedly is working with the CCP. His wife, if I remember and read it correctly, I think her last name is Evans, is the one of the main people of Code Pink. Code Pink is a group that keeps coming up. They, of course, started way back in the day with the anti-Iraq stuff, which, I was against. And now they've kind of evolved into this anti-war thing, but they're really getting into the promotion of leftist kind of stuff, things that are fueling the No Kings riots and fueling the anti-ICE riots and stuff like that. They're getting really involved. A lot of these companies are, NGOs and groups have dark money. A lot of it was shut down by USAID, so they're kind of aggravated with all of that. So people are wondering why these anti-riot fencing is going up all over the Capitol in specific areas like the White House and the Treasury. And nobody really knows. There's been no formal explanation. Nobody's really talked about it. There's nothing. It just kind of happens. So I don't know. Just keep an eye on this one. This is a very interesting thought. I don't know. Tell me what you think it is. What do you think's going on with this? Is it just the 4th of July weekend and they're getting ready? It's not this weekend. It's the next one coming up. But, they got to get it ready. Or is it something more nefarious? Are there going to be anti-ICE riots? Are there going to be No Kings riots or protests or whatever you want to call them? Mostly peaceful. All these things. Is this the kind of stuff that's going to be going on and they're getting ready for it? Or is it something we're not even really looking at, like, say, some kind of a financial event? I don't know. But I'm paying close attention to it, and I think you should be aware of it as well. So, friends, thanks so much for being here. Hit the buttons and stuff, darken out the bell, get the notifications. Appreciate y'all being here. I love the fact that we have crossed over 50,000 subscribers. I love this community. I'm going to be putting out stuff for free on Subscribestar. That link and the other links are in the description if you want to join us on Gab and Minds and Truth and X. Or Subscribestar on Locals. It's usually $3 a month, but I'm going to put all these posts. I'm going to try and do that more. I have some other ideas coming out too. I want to start to employ my website again. My parents are coming up for a surprise visit, so I'm going to deal with them for the next 24 hours, which is awesome. I'm excited they're coming here, but just keep an eye on all this stuff, okay? I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless. PrepperNow out.